All right, welcome to the Explainer. We're living in this pretty wild paradox right now. We are absolutely surrounded by vast oceans of data, but in the exact fields where we need it the most, our hands are completely tied. So today, let's dive into a massive breakthrough that is fundamentally changing how we solve this problem.
It really all starts with this one provocative question. Think about highly sensitive fields, like healthcare or finance. To train a cutting-edge medical AI to detect a new disease or to build an algorithm that spots financial fraud, you need data. Vast, huge amounts of data. But you obviously can't just hand over millions of private patient records or personal bank statements to researchers. So how exactly do we solve this?
Well, the answer, and really the star of our explainer today, is synthetic tabular data. Basically, we're taking incredibly advanced generative models and using them to learn the mathematical heartbeat of a dataset. We learn its underlying distribution, and then we generate completely new, hyper-realistic, and totally privacy-preserving samples. To be clear, this isn't just anonymized data. It is entirely fake data that holds the exact same statistical value as the real thing. It's a real game changer.
So here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the tabular data crisis, then look at the fake spreadsheet challenge, explore traditional generation methods, dive into the diffusion revolution, see what happens when LLMs enter the chat, and finally wrap up with the future of privacy.
Okay, Section 1, the tabular data crisis, or the privacy versus utility paradox.
Right at the core of this crisis, we have strict privacy laws. Things like GDPR in Europe and the CCPA in California. They're acting as the necessary but very strict guardians of our information, restricting data availability to protect our privacy. But on the flip side, we've got medical and financial AI absolutely starving for that same data to function and ultimately improve our lives. These two forces, privacy and utility, are the opposing variables keeping our tabular data locked away in a vault.
To actually set that data free, we have to look at the full pipeline. It's a journey. We start with an existing locked-down dataset, pass it through complex generation models, run it through careful post-processing, and finally evaluate it to make sure it's both highly available for the AI and completely private. Moving along to Section 2, the fake spreadsheet challenge, where we'll dissect the anatomy of a heterogeneous puzzle.
We've all seen generative AI create these stunning, fake, photorealistic images. But why is generating a fake spreadsheet so much harder? Well, generating tabular data is literally like assembling a giant jigsaw puzzle, where if just one single piece is illogical, the entire picture is ruined. Real data is messy. It's about missing values everywhere. Then there are imbalanced classes, like rare diseases popping up far less often than healthy records. But the biggest hurdle by far? Heterogeneity. A spreadsheet mixes text, categories, and numbers all in one place. With an image, every data point is just a pixel. But in a spreadsheet, column A might be age and column B might be eye color. They have complex, sparse dependencies and non-Gaussian distributions. Mathematically speaking, it is incredibly chaotic.
To solve this absolute chaos, we've gone through several massive eras of innovation. We started with early statistical models like copulas back in the 70s, moved to interpolation methods like SMOTE around 2002, and then hit the deep learning boom of the 2010s with VAEs and GANs. And today, we're right in the cutting-edge era of diffusion models and large language models.
Which brings us to Section 3, traditional generation methods. Let's talk about the early pioneers of data generation.
So, in the 2010s, two major heavyweights emerged, VAEs and GANs. Variational Autoencoders, or VAEs, work by learning the hidden, latent representations of the data through statistical maximization. But then we have GANs, and they completely change the game. GANs basically set up a literal min-max game, a mathematical battle between two neural networks. You've got a generator trying to make a fake spreadsheet and a discriminator acting like a detective trying to catch the fake.
As GANs evolved for this kind of tabular data, they pretty much split into three main types. Traditional GANs were great, but they really lacked control. That led to conditional GANs, which are awesome because they let us force the model to generate specific classes. We can literally tell the AI, hey, generate 1,000 health records, but specifically for female patients. Finally, to make absolutely sure no private data leaks through the model, we developed differentially private GANs, or DP GANs. They use these brilliant techniques like gradient clipping and injecting mathematical noise during training to completely guarantee privacy.
All right, Section 4, the diffusion revolution, how we overcame mode collapse using noise.
Now, GANs were definitely powerful, but they suffered from some serious instability and something called mode collapse. We really needed something better.
And that's where diffusion models came in and solved the stability problems. We started seeing models like TabDDPM, which were specifically designed to handle the structural heterogeneity of tabular data way better than GANs ever could.
So how exactly do they do it? It's essentially a two-step chain reaction. In the forward process, we take a perfectly real spreadsheet and progressively destroy it by adding mathematical noise until it's just pure static. Then the real magic happens in step 2, the reverse process. A neural network learns to denoise that static, step by step, essentially hallucinating a brand new, highly realistic, synthetic spreadsheet right out of thin air.
Next up, Section 5. LLMs enter the chat. We're injecting a little common sense into our synthetic data.
Because, look, as absolutely incredible as diffusion models are, they lack something fundamental: common sense. A diffusion model is really just looking at numbers. It might perfectly recreate a statistical distribution, but accidentally create a patient record where the person's age is -5. An LLM, on the other hand, understands language. It understands context. It embeds semantic structure. So it inherently knows a human being literally cannot have a negative age, preventing those absurd logical impossibilities from ruining our datasets. To actually harness that built-in semantic knowledge, we basically have two main approaches. We can either leverage the pre-trained knowledge of these massive AI models via prompt-based methods, literally just giving them instructions in context, or we can use fine-tuning methods to train them deeply on specific tabular constraints.
The practical application of this is just fascinating. I mean, how do you actually force a text bot to make a spreadsheet? Well, step 1, you serialize the tabular data into sentences. So instead of a rigid row with the number 39 and the word bachelor's, you feed the LLM a sentence that says age is 39, education is bachelor's. Step 2, you prompt or fine-tune the LLM to generate more sentences exactly like that. And finally, step 3, you parse those generated text strings right back out into the strict rows and columns of a perfect synthetic table.
Finally, let's jump into Section 6, the future of privacy, ensuring semantic correctness and security.
Okay, so we've generated all this amazing, ultra-realistic fake data. But how do we actually know it's useful? And for that matter, safe? Synthetic data has these dual objectives. First off, it has to be highly available and useful for downstream AI tasks. That's where we measure things like ML efficiency, fidelity, and alignment. But privacy is equally crucial. We measure the distance to the closest record to ensure the fake data isn't just secretly copying real people. We also rigorously test its resilience against membership inference attacks, basically making sure malicious actors can never reverse engineer the fake data to figure out who is actually in the original dataset.
Because, as researchers have pointed out, your synthetic data might match the original distribution perfectly, but it could still violate basic logic. This is exactly why post-processing is still a critical failsafe. Even with LLMs, AI can and will make mistakes. That's why we perform sample enhancement and label enhancement, basically a final manual sweep to correct any lingering semantic errors. It's how we ensure things like children aren't listed as married, keeping the entire dataset logically flawless. We've really gone from having all this locked away, untouchable data to spinning up completely synthetic, private, and highly intelligent datasets that can train the algorithms of tomorrow. But I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. As these models become truly indistinguishable from reality, if AI can perfectly simulate our most private, intimate data, what does it actually mean to be a real data point anymore? Thanks so much for exploring this fascinating evolution with me today.